apparently you're going to have a third candidate in the race. Michael Bloomberg essentially has vowed if you are on your way to the nomination, he's running as an independent. What's your reaction?
Well, my reaction is that there will be, if Donald Trump wins and Mr. Bloomberg gets in, you're going to have two multi-billionaires running for president of the United States against me. And I think the American people do not want to see our nation move toward an oligarchy where billionaires control the political process. I think we'll win that election.
No one likes to bombast and bluster about his wealth and what his business acumen will do to change America than Donald Trump. With a worth valued at $4.5 billion, he's earned the right to brag. But what if the Donald was challenged for the presidency by a man whose own worth puts Trump in the relative kiddie seat? And along with his $36.5 billion wealth brings with him the caveat of understanding how politics works as former mayor of New York City. Michael Bloomberg has been rumored as a presidential candidate twice before and could be the only person who, in the minds of hardcore Republicans, can save the party from a train wreck of interesting proportions. Maybe. We begin the political animal right there, beginning with the former two-time Democratic senatorial aide and now contributor at The Hill, Brent Budowsky, and also the senior project manager at Hathaway Strategies and author of The War on Millennials, Pete Seat. Gentlemen, pleasure to see you. Brent, I start out with you. Bernie Sanders is not scared, damn it. Go ahead, bring all your money on. I'll take him on and I'll still beat him here. But let's be realistic here. It's nice to hear Michael Bloomberg say he might run, but look, isn't it most likely he won't run? The Electoral College simply is much too daunting to overcome.
Oh, I agree with that. I think the odds are very low that Mike Bloomberg will actually run. Every 4 years, he dabbles this and he hobbies about it and he plays around. But I did do a piece on thehill.com today in the contributor section where I made the point that if it's a debate platform with Bernie Sanders versus the two billionaires, Bernie Sanders will win. And, man, I would make wagers on that, and I won't get as rich as Donald Trump or Mike Bloomberg, but I'll bet I'd win that bet.
I will bet you win that bet handily, as a matter of fact. All right, Pete. Now, that's on the left side of things. What about on the right side of things? Because, as I noted, there are some people saying, look, he was a Democrat once and then he became a Republican. So there are those Republicans saying, wait a minute, he just might be the guy to save us from the Donald.
Well, first point I would make is just like the Donald said he would run and he would flirt with it every 4 years, we never thought he actually would. Here we are. He's actually running for president. So who's to say that Mike Bloomberg won't do the same? But I think if you do have a scenario where it's Donald Trump versus Bernie Sanders, a lot of people are going to be looking for a third option. But as you pointed out, the Electoral College map makes it very, very difficult for that to actually realistically happen. And I think Mike Bloomberg is going to come to that conclusion ultimately that if he really wanted to do this, he's going to have to run from either the Republican Party or the Democratic Party, depending on which he sides with today.
All right, Pete, let me give you another option here. John Kasich is all of a sudden looking pretty good in New Hampshire. And as a matter of fact, the social conservatives are very alarmed about him basically getting it and taking a shot. But let's be realistic here for just a minute. Is it possible in your mind for John Kasich to get enough steam to really get into this race?
You know, New Hampshire is a state that is perfectly made for someone like John Kasich, also perfectly made for someone like Chris Christie. They've both been doing well in that state. They've been doing town hall after town hall after town hall, and that's why I think you're seeing this Kasich surge. He also did a lot of television advertising in that state early on to get people to get to know him. So just like in a lot of other places, you're seeing this mad dash at the end for people who are looking at the polls, seeing someone rise who they don't necessarily like, starting to freak out, and that's what you're seeing with Kasich.
All right, let's turn to the left side again here to you, Brent. In the latest poll out of Iowa, Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton now in an absolute dead heat. And now also there's a report out in the New York Post that says Clinton's aides may have deliberately copied and pasted highly sensitive classified information from secure government systems onto Clinton's private unsecure server. Come on, Brent, why would anybody even consider for one moment Hillary Clinton when we've got so much sitting here? There's so much unknown, and people just going to look at this and say, wait a minute, another lie.
Well, we're at a point where they're also considering Donald Trump and Ted Cruz. And, you know, it's that kind of
but nobody else. But Brent, wait a minute. Out of those two people you just mentioned, nobody here has got a private server sitting at home who was a former Secretary of State who may have had classified information sitting on it for other people to steal.
Oh, yeah, but the fact is that in most polls, Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton both win landslides over Donald Trump by double-digit big margins. So I'm not going to get overly worried. If something happens on the server issue, it happens. Right now, I will leave it to Director Comey of the FBI, and then we'll see what he says. I will tell you this. There is going to be a plan C for Republicans behind Trump and Cruz.
What's the plan?
It'll either be one of the three candidates that we've talked about, Kasich or Marco Rubio is also a possibility, or Chris Christie. If one of them emerges after the New Hampshire primary and Iowa caucus, that candidate is going to be much more serious and credible than anybody on TV right now thinks. Just remember where you heard it.
All right.
If none of them emerge,
we heard it here. We heard it here. I got
Romney
less
and
than a
Rubio.
minute to go, and I'm going to throw it to Pete. The gauntlet has been thrown, Pete, because Brent says Kasich, Rubio, or Christie are going to be sitting there waiting. What do you think?
I think there's some truth in that they all want to be the, quote, establishment candidate left standing.
But who do you turn to? Who do you turn to, Pete? If you've got to turn to one of them, which one is most likely?
Christie wants to be the last governor standing. Rubio's trying to do a third place in Iowa, second place in New Hampshire, first place in South Carolina strategy. And so it's whoever gets the most votes in these early states is going to be able to make the case that they should be the one to go up against these outside candidates.
Pete, I'm sorry, you're not going to get away that easy. 10 seconds. Who do you think is the one, in your opinion?
Let's talk next week, and we'll see how the votes come out.
Okay. All right. I'm going to give you next week, because even Brent, 5 seconds. Can you give me your pick on that?
Mitt Romney and Rubio. Remember where you heard it.
Brent, you are now on double secret probation, my friend. We are going to have to hold you out for a little while here. And I wait a minute. Here. I'm going to throw my paper at you right now because you get it for that. My goodness, Brent Budowsky, Pete C. Thanks so much for joining us, guys. We'll do it again soon. Stay with us. The fastest 60 minutes of news. The Hardline continues right here.